Some of you may or may not have heard about this story that I'm bringing to your attention, but this story right here is absolutely wild, and it's probably something I don't think anybody expected to happen. But if you live in New York, I'm sure that this is all they talked about for quite some time because it's more of a local thing, but it definitely made national news because of where it happened at and because of the event itself. So in this picture, you see a man by the name of Craig Tamanaha. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce his last name. And this guy is responsible for setting a Christmas tree on fire, but not just any Christmas tree, not a Christmas tree that you'll find in a house. Definitely not a Charlie Brown tree, but a tree that's literally standing up tall outside of the Fox Noose building. When I first heard about this, I'm thinking they're talking about the Rockefeller Center tree, and I'm like, dang, he really set fire to that. Now, if he did that, he would have did some serious damage. But this guy literally went there and set this tree on fire. And if you look at the thumbnail, you can see the damage. The tree actually being on fire. I think they're probably in the process of replacing it. Because it wasn't I don't know if it was a real tree, like one that, like a real fresh tree, or one that they just kind of put together. Well, he set fire to this tree. But get this guy was arrested and he had multiple charges, and then within hours was released without bail. Like, he didn't have not one bail attachment to him. He had, like I said, he had no bail, but he was still released. Now, usually when people have no bail, they should not be releasing them. And this guy is unhinged because, based on what I've heard so far, this guy has a lengthy rap sheet. Even his own father has said that his son is crazy. I don't know what's going on in New York, but this is the second story I've done out of New York in the last week where you've had someone who has had multiple run-ins with people, the authorities, and they constantly, continuously let them out. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article coming from the New York Post that was posted December 9th, 2021. The arsonist who allegedly torched the Fox Noose Christmas tree was freed after his arraignment Wednesday night because his charges were not eligible for bail under new liberal reform laws. "I didn't do it," suspect Craig Tamanaha, age 49, claimed to reporters outside Manhattan criminal court after being asked about the early morning arson that caused about $500,000 in damage outside the Midtown building that houses Fox Noose, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Post. Tamanaha, a vagrant with a lengthy rap sheet who was known to police, also went on an incoherent rant outside the courthouse. He denied the arson and hurled obscenities at reporters before asking them for a cigarette. "The moms that went to violate their effing daughters, they set it on fire," yelled the man, who had also allegedly exposed himself outside the Ghislaine Maxwell trial last week. The suspect was hit with a slew of misdemeanor charges, including arson, criminal mischief, reckless endangerment, and criminal trespass, for allegedly setting ablaze the 50-foot-tall artificial tree with a piece of cardboard that was on fire. Assistant District Attorney Matthew Bailey said at the arraignment that Tamanaha was not charged with a bail-eligible offense. Judge Marisol Martinez, before I go any further, this guy set a whole tree on fire. People could have gotten injured from that. Granted, if this thing would have leaned into the Fox News building and, say, a certain office of a few people over there, many people probably wouldn't have cared. But the fact of the matter is, this guy set a whole tree on fire. Like, he literally burnt up the entire tree. And it wasn't even hard to do, because you got to think, it's a lot of lights. Like, once one sparks like that, it's going to trigger the rest of them, and it's not hard to burn. It says Assistant District Attorney Matthew, I already read that part, says Judge Marisol Martinez Alonso granted Tamanaha a supervised release at the request of prosecutors. For a judge to set bail, Tamanaha would have to be charged with at least third-degree felony arson. Criminal defense lawyer Mark Betterow told Fox News. And since he was only hit with misdemeanor charges, that's why they didn't hold him. He didn't have not one felony charge, not one, for setting a fire to a tree. Under New York law, Arson is only a felony if a suspect tries to harm a person or commits a hate crime, he clarified. 2 open warrants for desk appearance tickets were also vacated by the judge. Tamanaha was told to return to court on January 4th and seemed confused about the order. Today I have to be here, Tamanaha responded. Oh, is he trying to go for the insanity plea? The suspect has a history of destructive stunts, is homeless, and abuses drugs. His father told the Post earlier Wednesday. Oh, he's a nut. I can't control him, said Richard Tamanaha of Hawaii. Mentally, he's not all there. Outgoing NYPD Police Commissioner Dermot Shea said Tamanaha was already known to cops. It's an individual that's known to us. He has a series of low-level arrests and drug arrests, the top cop said on WPIX Wednesday. He was issued some earlier this year, some appearance tickets, and didn't come back to court, which unfortunately is something we all see too often. He also has some low-level arrests out of the state. I believe it's Texas. Last week, Tamanaha also allegedly exposed himself to a group of reporters outside of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial in Manhattan. He was captured on camera moments after pulling down his pants to show his privates on the first day of the high-profile trial of Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend, said Gina Moon, a freelance journalist. I saw him walking around the square where media parks. He had a little weird behavior, said Moon, who works for multiple outlets including Reuters. He exposed himself to a female photographer and other people. Since New York's lenient bail reform went into effect, crime in the Big Apple has risen. Shea recently described the resulting crime that has flowed from disastrous bail reform law as insanity. That's crazy. I didn't even know a law like that existed. Can the people of New York who follow me on here go into more detail about that reform law? That, like it says, it seems to me like that law is doing more harm than good because it's allowing more people to continuously get away with stuff, which now kind of explains why in that previous video with the guy who was constantly robbing those women kept getting out, because I wondered if he's being protected by that as well. Because basically what it sounds like to me is that any crime that these people do that should be escalated to a certain level, they're de-escalated immediately thanks to that bill. Because this guy right here, I don't know how in the world that is seen as a misdemeanor. I don't know how he got away with this and didn't have not one felony charge at all. But look at how New York is being ran as a state. And I hate to be political, but it is a blue state. So there you go. But yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think about this crazy story down in the comments.